the afternoon session, and something which is very dear for all of us, more dear to me. They are now flying the Rafale, they're flying the Sukhois, they're flying the MiGs, they are occupying the left-hand seat, that's the commander's seat in an Airbus 380 with 500 odd passengers. Doctors, engineers, solicitors, well, you name a segment, they're there. Women, and they're there in endurance sports as well. So, every woman who laces up for a marathon in India is just not racing the clock, she's racing stereotypes. Today, we have leaders from brand, pop culture, we've got fitness, we've got operations who are redefining what it means to be a woman in endurance. Let us explore their journeys, the barriers they have broken, and the opportunities they see for millions of women in India and all over the world. I'm going to request the panelists to please join us out here. The first of them is Dhwani Bhanushali, artist and fitness enthusiast. She is one of India's most popular pop artists. I was lucky to listen to her yesterday on YouTube, and a passionate fitness enthusiast. That appealed to me much more, of course, along with the first part, inspiring millions of young Indians to embrace health and endurance. If you can take your seat, ma'am. The next of them, I'm going to request Deepak Raj again to please join us here. We have Aarti, who is the Deputy Race Director at Ironman, ensuring a world-class athletes experience at Ironman and Hyrox events in India. Wow, what a job she's got in front of her. Passion, of course. That's what we discussed this morning. Shreya Sachdev is the next of them. Shreya is the head of marketing Puma India. I had a little banter with her. I said, why aren't you wearing the Liverpool t-shirt? And she gave it back to me. Nevertheless, she leads the marketing at Puma India, where she has been instrumental in shaping campaigns that celebrate women in sport and fitness culture in India. Amazing shoes that they come out with. Well, I'm saying the good things obviously because I need one of them now. Yeah, and four of them, yeah, that's where we are as far as the women in endurance sports are concerned. I'm going to start with you, Dhwani, the singer. But she's also, as I said, not only a singer but an inspiration to the youth of this nation and to us as well. With an unpredictable performance schedule that you have, how do you balance training with music? Any hacks that work for you?
I don't think there are any hacks. It just has to be a continuous process of really taking care of yourself with nutrition, rest, your training. And I feel like artists are like athletes as well, because we put in so much work in performing on stage. A 90-minute to 2-hour performance is not easy. You have to sing, you have to dance, you have to be there for the audience, and it's obviously you need to train for it, and then you need to be in the studio and make songs, and so it's a whole process. And I genuinely feel that like I said, we're also like athletes, so there's no hack. It's just like constantly you need to be there for yourself, for your body, and endurance plays a huge role.
So this question is not a part of the script, so I'm going to get to you on that. Shifts, hours of work, sometimes 12 hours, the producer says, no, this is not clean, you need to do it. So, if you heard some of our panelists earlier on, nutrition, training, proper diet, health, how easy or difficult is it for you with these schedules?
So before Hyrox, yesterday I was on a 19-hour shift to do a music video with Warner, and I after that, we came home by like 12 o'clock, and I had to just like sleep, recover, and then come back. And obviously, even during the day, you have to make sure your nutrition is in place, and you can't eat anything wrong. Obviously, you're hungry, but then you need to control your cravings. There's a lot that happens, but I feel like eventually it's all about mental strength and and the will to sort of do your job and to be an artist. I think it's a huge thrill. So I feel like that's why we do it.
We've had some wonderful singers in the 1960s and the 70s we grew up on. Great fan of Mohammed Rafi, Lata Mangeshkar, Asha Bhosle, Kishore. The names are endless. All these words were not used then. How do you think is the difference? I'm sure you speak to a lot of the veterans of that era. How do you see the change from then to now? Is it now more competitive? That's why you do it. Is it natural that it comes to you to be physically fit? It helps you in your regime because they were doing also, as I understand, 18, 19 hours. How has that shift come about in this generation?
So basically, it's all become also very visual. You need to also be there for your music in terms of you need to show your face if you're doing independent music. I think the artists that you mentioned are primarily playback singers. So they used to have actors portray the videos but I feel like with someone like me, I am a pop artist. I'm someone who's always been there for my music. I am visually present. And I always thought I'd make a world around myself, around my music, with the visuals, with the shows, with the tours. So I feel like there's a lot more work, and that's why you also need to be that much fitter and that much capable to sort of follow through and be there for your art. Basically, that's why.
Do you cheat sometimes?
Of course. I'm not that disciplined.
Well, do you also feel that your fans and they see endurance sports as an aspirational or still as too hardcore male dominated?
I'm not sure if you can, categorize endurance as genders. I feel like it's just that women do it because we want to be fitter. I think all of us do it because we want to be fit. I don't think it's gender specific. It's just one needs to be fit to live a longer life. Even normal people, like you go for your walks, you do everything to look a certain way. I think it's a very personal experience, and I think even my fans, they're all between 18 to 27, and I feel they understand that. I see so many videos on social media that people really want to take care of themselves regardless of who they are. So
Yeah, you got the Sports Journalists Association of Mumbai out here. What would be a single message to the youth of this nation?
While we are here, very important, take care of yourself, chase your dreams, and follow through.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful. Thanks a lot. Inspirational, obviously, as she has been. Deepak, got to come back to you now. You have built a platform. Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. You built a platform around endurance in India. How have you seen women rise in endurance sports in India?
I think the participation levels compared to maybe other countries are, especially in terms of participative sports, is not where it is. But just yesterday, if I look at High Rocks, we had 33% women participation, which is a huge number. And I think globally it's about 45% maybe. Yeah. So we're not too far off. We started at about 27, 28% in our first event. It's 33. We know we're fairly confident we'll get to 40, 45, and why stop at 45? We're going to cross. But if you really take some of the other sports, maybe like triathlon or running, it's not where it is, because I think in some areas there are certain barriers. I think the nature of High Rocks as a sport is actually making it more inclusive. And Dilip spoke about women in sports and kids at our end. We have a women in sports campaign where we have discounted registration. So we have women specific coaches like Aarti, where people are more comfortable talking to female coaches, right? Getting them certified. So we're doing that versus, so at our end we're trying to do our bit, but the community is really taking it on.
Well, and what do you think are the barriers that women athletes face? I still remember, so many athletes talking to Anu Rani, the javelin thrower, national record holder, different sport of course, and she said 3 बजे उठ के हम खेतों में जाके train करते थे because the villagers won't want to see us in shorts and t-shirts. And she said, the moment I started winning, the entire concept changed. The villagers started saying, "ये हमारी कुड़ी है," and now she's an international star. So what are the barriers for the women? How can communities and event formats like the Ironman and High Rocks create a safer and more inclusive space for the women?
I mean, I've seen gyms, I don't know how many of them exist in India, whether it's female-only gyms, or at least there is a gym, but there is also a certain studio or whatever which is only for women. That makes them comfortable. I would say in terms of having female coaches and that infrastructure around, but mainly I think the community is just accepting, that part. I think it's starting to happen, but I'm sure the rest of the panel is more, apt to maybe share that it's not happening at the speed or the pace or at the scale at which it needs to happen. So I think everybody should do that bit. One is in terms of building those infrastructures. Two is encouraging, and I think parents encouraging girls and kids. It has to start with a lot of things. I know I'm making just broad statements, but all of those are equally important. And if it starts, maybe in a few years, you'll see a lot more things happen.
Well, Aarti, it's amazing. I read about your transition from the fashion industry to sports. What really inspired this shift, and how has endurance shaped your journey? Any regrets that you moved from fashion to this?
So I was a track and field athlete during school and college. So my sport was 400s and 800 meters. I'm a national level silver and a gold medalist. So sports never went out of me. Just that due to couple of commitments from the family front, I had to take sports as a back burner and then focus on the career, which I'm a very creative person, and that's the reason I took up fashion designing. Spent about 13 years working for all the top brands, including Puma. And then finally COVID hit. I had to take a life decision of whether to continue into being in the fashion industry or take a leap of faith and do something I've always passionate about. And close to when I was turning 30, I was weighing almost 85 kilos. Purely coming from very bad work-life balance. I used to spend 16 hours working, not eating the right food, stress eating, as the other panel said, never slept properly, never took care of myself, which I think generally any household women in our country does, right? They don't take care of themselves, they always put the others in front of them, whether it could be their kids, their husbands, their co-workers, they're always very sacrificeful, right? That's the, when you put women in front, that's the idea that you get. And I guess I was also through that phase. And then I promised myself that I'll do one thing for my 30th birthday, because when I started Googling to see what's the sport not many women had done, and triathlon came to the picture. And Anu Vaidyanathan was the only female who had done a full Ironman distance then. And there were hardly any from India. But now after 7 years, 8 years now, we are about 1,000 plus women athletes in a WhatsApp group and Facebook and Instagram. The tri community has grown, the endurance community has grown, as Deepak rightly said, from where it, for us, for High Rocks in our first race to see 33%, and we're heading towards, beating the even global standards is great, and that's what all of us want to do. So no regrets definitely, because I've always followed something that I've always been passionate about, which was sports during school and college, then fashion as a career, and then moving back. So I met Deepak in 2016 as just a free call in the sense, hey, I'm a coach, are you looking to train? And I just jumped onto the wagon and said, okay, I'm getting 3 months of free coaching, why not? And then slowly when COVID hit and I was taking a career decision of, okay, do I continue or not? Deepak said, hey, I'm looking for someone to manage the women, the women in sport and in general to see if you're interested in coaching. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. To be very honest, I jumped a cliff thinking that I'll build a parachute on my way down, but today, spending 4 years full time with Yoska, no regrets at all. I think we are definitely creating history. With being a participant in 2019 Goa race to now stand as a deputy race director for the 2025 race, I've had a phenomenal journey.
You know, you just mentioned, and I remember commentating on an event of yours, the 400 meters where Indian women have done so well. You may not have done well at the world stage, but Asia, yes, the 4x400 in particular. How much did that help you? The 400 endurance in some way, because obviously you're training towards that. How much has that helped you now towards this journey?
Not in terms of the physical, because when you're a sprinter, you do use different group of muscles. When you're an endurance runner, you actually unlearn and then relearn. That's exactly what I had to do. That was not very popular. People didn't know what they're supposed to do. I went through my fair bit of learning, and I'm glad that I've unlearned the sprinter in me and then got into the endurance sport. One thing which stood out is the true sportsmanship. The never give up attitude and go get it attitude is something that have always stood with me. I think as a woman, that's something that I've always been telling my co-athletes and my trainees, that if you have a dream, all of us as a child, I was a football player. I used to be my school captain. While I can't play football now, it's not that I don't want to, but I've got quite a lot on my plate. I'm doing a lot of sport at this point in time, so enjoying what I'm doing. And the one thing that I would really tell all the women is, for me, it started as a me time. When I was 85 kilos, I couldn't just jump the next day morning and start running or swimming or cycling. So the first thing I did is spend that 30 minutes as a me time for myself, which I think every woman should do, and kind of go back to what they love doing. There could be some sport that as a child they would have done. It could be a competitive sport, or it could be a team sport or an individual sport. It could be track and field. But I'm sure every woman at a younger age could have picked up a sport, and I think now it's high time they brush that and take that a small step.
So just taking this forward, for example, as someone who's now leading women in sport for Yoska, what trends are you seeing in participation, and what do women athletes need the most to succeed?
I think me time. that's primarily what they need. As I started my conversation, we've always been givers. I think it's time now for us to pause, and because when we grow, we actually don't grow as an individual. We take the entire family along with us, right? It could be your partner, it could be your kids, it could be your in-laws, it could be your parents. The big advantage is we as a women don't grow into, not just us, we take the entire family with us. So if I start running and my partner or my family, my dad sees, I still remember my dad retired, and my first cycle, he followed me the two-wheeler and we said we'll take turns. So on my way back, he drove the cycle and I was following with the two-wheeler. So sometimes it just happens that family just join along with you to, they also become fit. So it's important for women to kind of build that, not just in the family, but in the community as well.
Thanks, Aarti. We'll come back to you. Shreya, head of marketing at Puma India, as I introduced her. Are women joining endurance sports because of icons? Mentioned that some time back. Peer communities, Deepak Raj and the likes out here, or brand campaigns, what is moving the needle the most?
I wish I could say brand campaigns, right? But no, I think a couple of things, right? I think there has been in the last couple of years a lot more I think education about women's health in general. I think the good thing about social media is access to information is a lot easier, right? And I think there are, with this generation and going forward, a lot more women in corporate than there were before. And these are women that are actually competing in a space that is originally built for men, right? So like 1 in 3 women now has hormonal issues because they're dealing with work pressure that they didn't have to before, right? So I think increasingly there is a lot more information on women's health, the fact that you have to have a high muscle mass if you need to be, well, protein intake, etc., etc. And I think that's where, more and more women are taking to endurance sport because that's really the way you build muscle, you stay healthy, you live longer. So I think just access to more information on women's health and what it takes really to be fit, right? I mean, you are no longer just encouraged to dance or do yoga. You are encouraged to, strength train. You are educated about the fact that you do need to have a high muscle mass. So I think one, just access to information. So I think as more and more women start to earn, I think you have a bit more disposable income than you did before, and hence the ability to spend on yourself maybe the way that you did have before. I think I see a lot more women now spending on gym, and of course I'm speaking corporate India, right? There's a whole India that I'm not speaking about here, but if I speak about corporate India, I think finally there is the ability to spend on your health, on yourself and your health, and like she said, gym is also a way of me time and investing in yourself. So I see that kind of building as well, and so more and more women investing in such sport for themselves, which they maybe didn't really have the opportunity or the power to do before. I think a third thing which maybe cuts across but then also applies to women is increasingly, and I think Deepak can back me up on this, we are seeing that people are looking for social outlets beyond the obvious, right? So you no longer want to go out to just a cafe or a restaurant or a bar. You're looking at very unique and different ways to socialize, and I think participative sport is really becoming one of those avenues where you socialize. So more and more people are signing up for a run or signing up for high rocks as a way to actually socialize, right? So, for example, something that we started last year and is doing really well is we partnered with Bumble to do like a singles run or a Valentine's Day run, right? And by that nature, it's equitable in terms of gender split, right? So we were signing out with it counted like 15 minutes because people were scrambling to sign up. So that clearly tells us that people want to look at sport as a way to socialize as well, both men and women, and that's why you see a lot more women also taking to sport because they're bored with the typical type of socializing and they want to explore more avenues. People are using it as a way either to engage with their existing groups or meet new people as well, right? So I think if you put all of these together is where, of course, you see a huge rise in women taking to fitness, to endurance sport in general. And then, of course, it helps that thanks to social media and brands realizing the opportunity, we then invest and educate and bring more people into the fold.
Wonderful. From the 70s to the 90s now to the 2025s, can brands truly normalize women in endurance, or are we still stuck in the token Women's Day campaigns?
I think any good brand that talks to women does not talk on Women's Day, they talk beyond, right? But no, I think absolutely, right? I think especially brands like ours, it is in our best interest to actually encourage more and more women to take up endurance sport and fitness because we are in that business, right? So I think there are more than enough brands who are realizing the opportunity. I think the ideal of what a woman should look like is also changing, right? That you are encouraged to have muscles, you are encouraged to be toned and fit, and we're seeing that visual representation change, right? I mean, look at the visuals from High Rocks and look at the women there, right? I think that ideal is changing, and as it changes, I think more and more brands will represent women as such. Even in terms of women athletes, I think they're finally starting to get their day in the sun. More and more brands are signing them on, making them the faces, for their campaigns. I mean, we just signed PT in the beginning of this year, and she's done wonders for us in terms of, again, showing women that, hey, this is an ideal to look forward to, right? And this is somebody that you can idealize and whose path you can follow. So I think this is just the start. I do see that ideal changing, and I see that there are still, I would say, not as many brands speaking to women in the fitness space, but I see that number changing, and I hope it continues to grow.
Well, Aarti, I'm going to nudge a little bit because you got Shreya sitting next to you. From your work with women participants, do you see equipment and gear as a real barrier, or is it more confidence and the community?
I would say it works hand in hand. While for running, all you need is a pair of shoes, which all you need to know is good brands and understand, which is the information is available at the finger of our tips now with internet and so many things out there. So it works hand in hand is how I would say. For me, more than all of this, I think it's for women to get out there. As Deepak always says, 21 days it becomes a habit, right? I know it's very difficult to take that first step, but when you continue to do that, it's about consistency. It's about a commitment for yourself, and everything else will fall in place.
Well, Dhwani, sorry to keep you quiet for some time. Pop culture is a powerful influence. We all know that. Any age, pop culture. If you had to make endurance Instagram cool,
Yeah.
how would you bring music and fashion into it?
Yeah, wow. I think if I had to make it Instagram cool, how would I include fashion and music in it? So I basically, what I do is I keep sharing the snippets of my rehearsal, or when I go to the gym or Pilates or whatever. When you go to a gym or when you go to a rehearsal, you want to look a certain way. I like to kind of dress up and go there so I feel good about myself. So I go there, and then I think that way you can sort of when you take that video, you can you tell the people that, oh, you know what, you go here, you look a certain way, you feel good about yourself, and that's how you include fashion and music, obviously, because there's rehearsal going on. And in the gym, you can say that I'm really hitting it out of the park with my endurance. Some days I'm not the same, but yeah, that's how I think you will make it Instagram cool.
Great, Deepak. From your perspective as an organizer, how do you ensure women feel represented and supported at endurance events?
I think one is having inspirational stories like what we have. Dhwani did the race yesterday, and she was kind enough to take time to talk about it, and that age group. And I think you saw the age group which was represented well yesterday in Hyrox was sort of the age group which is out there in the gym. I think that helps. We spoke about infrastructure even in the last panel to now. I think that carries over. And businesses and maybe training facilities which are more geared up towards that, and community being more willing and being open to that part. It is a long list, but I think all of those are starting to get addressed, and I only wish that it starts happening. Again, I say the same thing. I know I'm being repetitive. The cadence and the scale just needs to be there. I think all of us are aware what needs to be done. It's been talked about lots. It's starting to see action. It just needs to happen more.
Well, we're now going to head to the final segment of this wonderful morning. Ecosystems are so important. Challenges, needless to say, and the opportunities. Opportunities come your way, grab them with both hands. Aarti, to you, if a woman professional came to you today wanting to start endurance, what is the first 30-day routine that you would prescribe?
If there's someone who's absolutely new, it's like a couch to 5K. I would say start with a walk. Just spend 20 minutes every day. Every week, slowly start increasing it by 10%, whether it's the distance or the time that somebody is spending. So cumulative for that week, and then increase it by 10 days. Have small goals. Have small goals for yourself, whether it could be weekly, it could be 30 days. End of 30 days, what would you like to see yourself? If you're someone who's going to the gym, someone who's never stepped to a gym, then the first step is just stepping into the gym. And I say, okay, I commit myself, saying the first, in a week, 3 days is what I'll hit. You'll probably snooze your alarm and sleep the first week, but then the next week. So hopefully by 21 days or by end of 30 days, you're at least hitting the gym 3 times a week. Similarly in a run or a walk. So start slow, have small goals, treat yourself. I always treat myself when I it's not just about big wins. Even if I do something very consistent, I always go and treat myself. It could be a cheat meal, it could be buying good clothes, I could be buying the most favorite shoe that I wanted to buy for myself. So it's important to you acknowledging what the effort and time that you have put in. So that would be my piece of advice for somebody who's just starting fresh.
Shreya, how do we go from celebrating 5 icons to creating 50,000 everyday women participants in endurance? What is the unlock?
I think maybe 2 or 3 things. I think the first is honestly, I think access to safe spaces. I think something that you'll hear women say often is like, "Oh, I can't go on a run alone because it's not safe for me, and it's not something I can do, or I can't dress the way I would dress, for a workout because I'll get stares, or it's just not looked at as appropriate." So I think the first step is really to create safe spaces for women to work out the way that they want to work out. I think one of the reasons, for example, why High Rocks has a decently equitable gender split is simply because they've built a safe space where women can dress the way they want and work out in a safe space without judgment and without concerns on safety. So I think safe spaces is one. I think the second is just more education and information, because while information on women's health is growing, I still think it's severely under researched, right? I think that's a space where people are just not investing more time and effort for there to be enough research to even educate women to say how your bodies change and evolve and what your bodies really need. And until we're able to do that, I don't really think you'll be able to get to a point where a woman knows exactly what she needs to prioritize for her health. I think this is the first generation where you see a large number of women entering corporate India. The demands on their bodies are very different, and unless we bridge that gap in terms of how you balance all of this and how you still stay fit, because your bodies are different to men and hence you need different things when it comes to working out and fitness. I think if these are the 2 things that we can kind of bridge the gap on, you'll see more and more women taking to fitness. I think, and frankly, I think the entire ecosystem, brands, investment and all is part and parcel of that, right? Where there's opportunity, you will continue to invest, but I think this gap needs to be bridged for it to massively scale up.
Dhwani, if you had to pitch endurance to a 20-year-old woman, a 20-year-old girl, right, scrolling Instagram right now, what is your elevator pitch?
You're really putting me in the spot with every question. Elevator pitch, maybe I would just go up to her and first say hi. And then if she's not aware of who I am or she has never heard my songs before, I'll just be like, oh, you should go to High Rocks, the page, and sort of see the different athletes there. And actually, it's for everybody. I wouldn't just say athletes. I think High Rocks is for everybody. And, just like doom scroll there and sort of see how the people are and how women are and how they're so inspired to, take care of themselves and really participate and really go. It's such a competitive sort of environment, but at the same time, it's such a beautiful energy, to participate and really do that whole mile. So I would just ask her to doom scroll on that page, and maybe like her algorithm will change after that, and then she should be in this whole sense of being fit.
Yeah, thanks. Deepak, final question to you. I'm going to come to something interesting after you obviously chip in. What partnerships or policy changes do you think would accelerate women's participation in endurance sports across India?
I can't think of a policy much, but I think from a partnership perspective, working closely with brands and maybe also government institutions to promote a few things in terms of women's sports. But yeah, I would say mostly coming back to even what we spoke earlier and Shamal mentioning 70% of the participation is corporates. So I would definitely put my efforts there, working with corporates, not just brands, just corporates. Like if I take an example, Infosys, Cognizant, or some of those companies, how they already promote wellness, if they can, do a bit more, because they have a fair amount of women employees, right? So I think that's what I would focus on.
Well, I'm now going to get to the four of you. 29 seconds each, right? 29 seconds. Start with Dhani. In one line, what is the biggest challenge India needs to see more women in endurance sports? One line, what is the biggest challenge or change that India needs to see more women in endurance sports? The same to all four of you. Starting with Dhani.
Safe space, infrastructure, and just inspiration in general. Also, I feel like she mentioned multiple times that in the corporate world things are changing, and because women, this is the first generation I feel after our mothers that's really like going ahead and fully taking care of themselves and doing our jobs, and but at the same time I feel we should be able to inspire our mothers also a little bit, I keep telling my mom, she has diabetes now after COVID. I keep telling her, please, take care of yourself, and the medicine is not going to help you. You really need to but still, she's in that trauma of the fact that I had to work 14 years and just take care of you guys and do the housework, and I didn't have time for myself. So now she's taken it into a psyche where she's like, I'm going to just eat. I'm not going to. This is how I take care of myself and my heart. So I feel like if we can, as women, as young women, inspire our mothers to sort of get into this whole spirit and make them comfortable that while you eat right and you take care of your bodies. You don't need to have vada pav every day. Your nutrition, your exercise is going to make you feel really good.
Shreya, 29 seconds.
I guess I already covered this, but access to safe spaces without judgment and just more education and information.
Well, that was 10 seconds. Thank you. Aarti.
I think I'd still emphasize on yourself, and which will for sure that change is required for oneself, and then that kind of radiates people around you. So that's one change I would definitely look, and I think they've already addressed on the infrastructure and having the safe environment for us to perform. So that's all been covered.
Deepak?
Nothing more to add, but I think corporate wellness, like if corporates can look at that corporate wellness and not look at it as a compliance. Okay, I'm again being very candid here. There is people championing it in corporates, but in some cases it's also done as part of it. So I think it's a bit of both. I think if that can be taken up more seriously, I think that will go a long way.
Well, wonderful. 1 hour and 40 minutes of a super morning out here. So much of insights all of us have really learned from the 9 panelists. Each of them has given us some great food for thought getting into the next few months and into 2026. I'd like to thank the 4 of you and the 5 before that. Deepak is already here. As I said, for sharing your experiences in the segment that we did speak of endurance in sports. It's been a pleasure for me to be a moderator out here at this event. To the Sports Journalists Association of Mumbai, as I said, continued coverage of all such events. I'm going to request the President Vishwanath to propose a vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Milind, for doing a wonderful job. Before I start the vote of thanks, I must tell a chota story to Deepak. We sports journalists, we are raised on a diet of cricket, hockey, sports, and now recent chess. So as he said, the last almost 2 hours, the articulation by you 9 people was something, learnings for us, all of us, we have journalists here. Someone like Jimmy Vadoliwala, United News of India, he started in the 60s. So we have about sports journalists in this all, been but for about 7 decades at least here. So we're all raised on cricket, hockey and all. So it's taken, a hell of a lot of time for me to convince everybody in the last 10 days that you must come for this function. And thank you so much for all of you, all great names, some of them are already left, but thank you so much for, enlightening us I just want to ask Deepak one thing. Triathlon has already been a regular sport, Olympic sport from Sydney onwards, 2000. So what gives you the hope that High Rocks will also be part of it?
I think Veri can back me, but it's a new sport compared to triathlon. I think triathlon maybe started early 1970s and it took about 30 years. I think High Rocks is going to take half that time when it comes to an Olympic sport. Why? I think all of us touched upon it. It's for everybody and it's also for every body. You know what I mean? So it is participative sport, which is going to get into the Olympics because I think running wasn't sort of an Olympic sport or a sport which then became a participative sport. So it's very interesting. You will see one of the participative sports becoming into Olympics. If you really look back, can't think of too many sports in that manner. What gives me the confidence? Not just the growth here in India, but the number of countries. I'm sure, I know we have races maybe in 30 or 40 countries, but in terms of representation, we are already there at 150 whatever countries which are needed for Olympics. The standards and the rules are the same, right? That's an important aspect for it to be accepted by the respective federations and everything else. And 1 million participants in High Rocks, 1.2 million this year, right? So that gives confidence. The country is being represented. So yeah, we're definitely on our way.
So thank you so much for Nandini. Without Nandini, we could not have been given this opportunity to host all of you. Thank you so much to Nandini and Woodsburg and her team here. And thanks to Sachin Bajaj, who is a member of the CCA, because of whom we are able to hold the function here. And to the Sport Journalists Association of Mumbai, my colleagues in the executive committee and also the members, thank you so much for taking your time out and coming here. And let me finish it saying that CCA is known for good F&B, food and beverage. So please have a good meal and take happy memories from here. Thank you so much.